Today we're going to ask the legacy question, which is what story do I want to tell? Because you know this if you've ever attended any funeral. Okay, we just had one a few days ago. So this is obvious whenever you attend a funeral, but just you don't need to wait to a funeral to figure this out. Ultimately, in the end, your life is a story. A story is going to be told about you when all is said and done. Maybe written in a newspaper, if they even have newspapers anymore, I don't know if they still exist. But someone's going to stand up at the end of your life, and they're going to tell the story of your life. What will they say? You get to write the story. You get to say, you determine what's going to be said about you. Okay, my wife always jokes with me. I always say, I know exactly what I want said at my funeral. And she's like, you can't be that much of a control freak that even when you're dead, you're still in control of your funeral. I'm like, no, I can. I found a way. Someone's going to tell a story of you, but you today, by the decisions that you make, get to affect the document that's being written, because it's not written in stone yet. I have two kids. 19, just turned 19 and 16, 17, whatever, maybe, okay? Older kids, okay? Whatever, teenage kids, okay? And I remember one of the things that they used to love to do, especially with my parents, but Marianne's parents, so, but really with mine, they wanted to know all about me as a kid. What was Dad like? And what did Dad do? And tell us this, because Marianne was always good. Marianne came out the womb, okay, with the halo on top of her head. Okay, she was the best, okay? She was an angel. But me, I had a little bit of some stuff. And they loved to tell us what Dad did here. And what did he do after that? And tell us more, Grandma, and tell us. And they love to hear those stories. And I got to be honest. As I'm hearing my parents tell the stories, there's some parts of the stories where I'm cringing. There's some parts of the stories where I'm like, please don't ask more details. Please don't ask more details. But there's other parts of the story that I love to tell. I love it, and I'm proud. Like, I love it when they ask me, tell us how you and Mom met, and tell us how you guys did dating. I'm very proud. Say, this is what we did before marriage, this is how we got engaged, this is how I'm very proud of that story. I could tell it to the mountaintops. I love it when they ask stories about how, when I was ordained as a priest, tell us what happened when someone invited you to the priesthood. Tell us how you approached that. I love that story. Love to shout that out. I love it when they ask stories about how we face certain challenges, okay, especially as a married couple, how we face those challenges. That's a story that I'm proud to tell. But if I'm honest, and you're honest as well, there are parts of the story where I really hope they don't ask about. There are parts of the story when I start to tell that part, I'm like, 1.5 speed, 1.75, like fast forward, and I'm hoping that they don't pick up that I tried to skip over some parts. And there's some parts of the story that I'm be honest, and you be honest too. There's some parts we just want to erase. We just wish chapter 6 would just kind of go away, and that wouldn't even exist. How about you? Do you like the story that you're writing? Do you like the story that's going to be told about you? Well, if not, the good news is, while you cannot erase the past, you can absolutely write the future, because it's a working document. And the way you do that is by asking this question. Maybe you, for example, maybe your story, I'm just throwing out some examples right here. Maybe your story is, went out with that guy, went out with that girl. After 2 dates, I knew he was a loser. Even he knew he was a loser after 2 dates. Everybody knew this thing wasn't going to work. But you know what? He just had those nice eyes. And he's just so cute. And if we go back to question number 1, am I being honest with myself? Truthfully, it wasn't even about his cute in his eyes. It was just about, you know what? I'm done being single. I'm done. So you know what? You tried to make it work. And you tried to, piece it together and put some duct tape over here. And you ended up making some decisions, doing some things that you never thought you'd do. That you regret. That you wish you could go back, but you can't. But here you are now. It's been a year, been 2 years, been whatever it is. Here you are now. The story of the last year has already been written, but the story of the next year isn't. And you got to decide. What's going to be the next chapter? Is the next chapter going to be roll the dice and see how it goes? Maybe your story is, you're a good guy, you're a good girl, but one night you were out with your friends having some fun. Someone started passing around some drinks, and you had a few drinks, and you had maybe one few too many drinks. And you did something. And there are major consequences to that. And those consequences can't be erased. And now, as much as you regret that, as much as you wish it wasn't there, that's part of your story. And that's not going to go away. Maybe you was a decision, a career decision. It's a financial decision. It was a greed decision. Maybe for you, actually, the decision was a non-decision. It was a decision to do nothing when you should have done something. It was a decision to not ask for help, to not admit you have a problem, to not seek help. It was a decision to not take that chance, to not ask her out, to not accept that invitation, whatever it may be. I don't know what it is, but I know this. The bottom line, those decisions are writing your story. So you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to the people who love you, and the people who look up to you, to before you make the decision. Even I told you last week, I don't even care if you change your decision, but you owe it to yourself to at least pause and ask, what story do I want to tell? What story do I want to tell about my college years? What story do I want to tell about how I faced this challenge? What story do I want to tell about my relationship with this job? What story do I want to tell? Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 1 says this. Says, dead flies putrefy the perfumer's ointment and cause it to give off a foul odor. So does a little folly to one respected for wisdom and honor. You know what that means? The writer of Ecclesiastes, King Solomon, was very poetic. And he's basically saying it only takes a little bit of junk to mess up something as beautiful as this ointment, just a little bit of junk. So I'm going to say it this way. I'll paraphrase it in my own words. Every decision becomes a permanent part of your story. Every decision becomes a permanent part of your story. Every decision becomes a permanent part of your story. That's why you got to learn to ask the question. Let's go back to the scenarios that I just gave a minute ago. Your story could have been different to what I said earlier. You went out with that guy for 2 dates, you realized he wasn't the one. And it could have been that your story could instead say that you listened to wise counsel, you listened to your mom, you listened to your dad, you listened to your priest, you listened to all your friends, and you stepped away from that. And that was hard, but that was the critical decision because that allowed you, first of all, to invest more in your relationship with God, which you really needed to do, and then God opened the door to Mr. Right or Miss Right or whoever right may be. And because you made that hard decision, then you were able to meet that person that much quicker. That could be your story. The story about the person who went out that night. The story could have been that you were with your friends and they were pressuring you and there was so much pressure, and then you stood up and said, you know what, with all due respect, I'm not judging you, but I don't want that to be my story. And if that's a decision that you made, then you will be glad to tell that to your kids. You will sing that one from the mountaintops. You tell everyone that I was in this situation, I really wanted to, and I didn't, and I thank God because they ended up whatever it may be. Your decision could be how you went against fear, how you were terrified to take that step. And everything inside you said, go to the basement, play your video games, hide, don't do it. But you took that step. And your story ultimately reflects it. You are writing a story today and you don't know who or what it will impact. And all I'm telling you, message for today is simple. Write a story that you're proud to tell. At minimum, write a story that you're not embarrassed to tell. Write a story that you will be proud to tell others.